On October 30th, 2005, a Seoul court has ruled entirely in favor of ADOR/HYBE in its high-profile contract dispute with NewJeans, rejecting all of NewJeans' arguments and confirming that their exclusive contract remains valid. So, the court stated that ADOR did not violate the agreement by dismissing former CEO Min Hee-jin, noting that the contract contained no clause requiring her to stay in that position. And judges emphasized that ADOR had even offered Min Hee-jin a continued producer role and tried to reappoint her, but she refused and resigned on her own. Now, importantly, the court recognized that Min Hee-jin had premeditated a media campaign, 여론전, to shape public opinion against HYBE and used NewJeans' parents to support that effort, something that the court said could not be considered protection of the group. So the court actually acknowledged that, which is pretty significant. Now, other claims by NewJeans, including alleged management neglect or broken trust or plagiarism by outlets and reputational harm, they were all dismissed for lack of evidence. And the court concluded that ADOR took appropriate steps to protect the members' privacy and fulfill its contractual obligations. So yeah, as a result, the exclusive contract signed in April 2002 remains valid, and NewJeans must pay all legal costs. So that was a summary. And the verdict came out just hours ago, and there might be more details that could come out throughout the day, but I wanted to make this video pretty quick and read this article with you. I found 3 articles that are well written and organized, but let's go through this one entirely by Dispatch. 10 reasons for termination rejected. All of them. NewJeans loses contract battle against ADOR. And at the end, I'll also look through some comments written by netizens online in Korea, and then I'll add my own commentary. All right, with the photo of Danielle and Minji. NewJeans has failed in their attempt to terminate their exclusive contract with ADOR. On October 30th, the Seoul Central District Court Civil Division 41, Judge Jung Hwae-il ruled in favor of ADOR in the lawsuit filed by NewJeans seeking confirmation that their exclusive contract was invalid. The result, a complete victory for ADOR. ADOR의 완승. NewJeans must also cover all legal costs. This is something that I'm gonna, one of the things I'm gonna talk about at the end, because this is so stupid of them. I mean, for lawyers, I guess it could make sense because they're making money, but and for Min Hee-jin, I guess from her perspective, she's doing what she can. Although, you know what? Let's go through this first. The court stated, it is difficult to conclude that ADOR breached any critical obligations under the exclusive contract, or that mutual trust between the parties has been irreparably broken, rejecting every argument presented by NewJeans. Now, this is interesting. It says, typically, civil rulings only announce the decision briefly. But in this case, the court unusually spent about 40 minutes reading out detailed reasoning for each issue. And this is something that other articles have noted as well. That is unusual, or rather unusual. All right, so let's go through each point. Hello, Min Hee-jin. All right, point number 1. Dismissal of Min Hee-jin. Management vacuum? ? The court first addressed NewJeans' claim that firing CEO Min Hee-jin created a management vacuum, saying simply removing Min Hee-jin from her CEO position does not necessarily mean that a management gap occurred. The judges determined that NewJeans' trust in Min Hee-jin did not make her continued role as CEO an essential condition of the contract. Even after her dismissal, Min Hee-jin remained a registered director who could still perform producer duties. The exclusive contract does not specify that a particular individual, such as Min Hee-jin, must serve as CEO to fulfill management duties, the court explained. It also noted that ADOR offered Min Hee-jin a new contract to continue her producing work, which she declined. ADOR even attempted to reappoint Min Hee-jin as an internal director, but she resigned voluntarily, the court continued. It is therefore difficult to say ADOR unilaterally destroyed the relationship of trust. So that was point number one. Point number two, HYBE's ability to fulfill management duties. NewJeans argued, and by NewJeans they're talking about Sejong law firm, Sejong lawyers, and also by that Min Hee-jin, right? But NewJeans argued that after Min Hee-jin's dismissal, ADOR and HYBE failed to properly manage them. The court rejected that too, saying ADOR's inability to recruit a new producer for a few months was due to waiting for Min Hee-jin's cooperation. During that time, ADOR still continued management tasks, album production, concert preparation, world tour planning, and ad campaign coordination, the ruling noted. Point number three, Min Hee-jin's audit and dismissal were lawful. Okay, they were legal. A key issue was whether Min Hee-jin's dismissal followed proper procedure. Interesting. So this is a conversation between Min Hee-jin and NewJeans' parents happened on September 11th. Okay. We have already seen that. Never mind. So she wanted to be reinstated as CEO all along. Well, HYBE did offer her to take an internal director position, but she declined. And they also offered her to remain as a producer, but all she wanted was CEO position. All right, point number three. A key issue was whether Min Hee-jin's dismissal followed proper procedure. The court ruled it was justified, not the result of an unfair audit. It cited KakaoTalk messages between Min Hee-jin and former ADOR Vice President Lee Sang-woo as direct evidence. Check this out. Remember, they have considered the KakaoTalk messages as evidence, direct evidence, deeming them valid since civil trials allow free evaluation of evidence. In these messages, Min Hee-jin's intent to separate ADOR from HYBE was clear. In February 2024, Lee Sang-woo said, "Let's make things hard for HYBE so we can gain freedom," to which Min Hee-jin replied, "That would be nice." 그럼 좋겠다. The following month, she wrote, "We will move up the timeline. No press talk for now. We will wage a public and legal battle. Depending on their response, we will go public." The court found that Min Hee-jin had plans to make ADOR, including NewJeans, independent from HYBE and prepared both media and legal strategies in advance. The court even quoted Min Hee-jin's April 2024 message, preparing a report to the FTC, Fair Trade Commission. The moms should file and announce the complaint. What matters isn't HYBE's album push, but making it public. The court concluded that, check this out, court concluded that contacting investors and encouraging members' parents to influence public opinion were sufficient reasons for ADOR to launch an internal audit, or HYBE to launch an internal audit into ADOR. And said there is enough evidence that Min Hee-jin sought to lead NewJeans' separation from HYBE, the court stated. All right, let's read it one more time. The court concluded that contacting investors and encouraging members' parents to influence public opinion were sufficient reasons for ADOR or for HYBE to launch an internal audit into ADOR. There is enough evidence that Min Hee-jin sought to lead NewJeans' separation from HYBE, the court stated. Now, these are the KakaoTalk messages that they're referring to. For example, this one. February 4th, 2024, 1 year before BTS returns from military service. This is when HYBE is at its weakest. We end HYBE and Pang Seok at this time. We're speeding up the plan. On April 30th, we send the first email and launch the attack. Since we'll go to the second round anyway, there's no reason to delay. Start the attack. Meanwhile, we prepare for the media war, 여론전. No interest in fixing issues by April 20th. The goal is to raise external issues. The best outcome will be if HYBE, in order to avoid a major crisis, comes to me with a compromise. What a pipe dream that was. That happened in February and March. And the conversation between Min Hee-jin and Lee Sang-woo, they were talking about, I think it was this one. Yeah, this is related to when Lee Sang-woo wrote a complaint email on behalf of NewJeans' parents in their tone. Alright. I've been thinking about how we can really screw them over, Lee Sang-woo said. And Min Hee-jin said something like, separate out the key points that the FTC, National Tax Service, and Labor Office are keeping an eye on, and draft that up for me, Lee Sang-woo said. I've been thinking about how we can really screw them over. Man, I would love to see Pang Seok go down. We need to make a move before BTS comes back. For the next 1 year, make life hard for them, and we will get our freedom. Min Hee-jin said, that would be good, or that would be nice. We need to prepare a strategy for how to get out when HYBE gets caught up in a crisis. Let's meet with people from Media Company X sometime. There's a journalist introduced by Analyst X. VP said, yes, sounds good. I'll proceed cautiously. First, I'll meet and build rapport. And like slowly soaking in the rain, I will work on accountants, competitors, investors, outside directors, securities firms, media, and public institutions. Not officially, but through personal networks first. Just like how you win over brand connections with your personal charm. All right, let's move on. Point number 4. Dispatch trainee videos, no trust breach. The court dismissed claims that leaked trainee videos published by Dispatch damaged trust, noting that 2 of the videos were deleted and others blurred. It added, HYBE selected an additional content moderation agency, requested an explanation from Source Music, and sent an official notice to Dispatch. These actions show that ADOR fulfilled its obligations. Now, 2 things. There's a reason why Min Hee-jin went crazy over this. Because this video, released by Dispatch, just proves that Min Hee-jin had no role in setting up the foundation of NewJeans. It was all done by Source Music. By NewJeans, I'm talking about the Project N group. Okay? So the trainees were already well trained. And even the song, debut song, Attention, was ready with choreography and everything. So, if the public sees this, they would likely realize that, okay, maybe we overestimated Min Hee-jin's values and abilities when it comes to, this group, NewJeans. So they tried so hard to block this. And yeah, Dispatch did take it down. And Min Hee-jin, their camp, including her supporters and quote-unquote NewJeans fans, also sent complaints to Dispatch to take them down. Now, ADOR listened to that complaints and did their part, HYBE as well. And this is what Korean High Court said last time. Dispatch. And I have translated the full decision, you can see. NewJeans also argued that ADOR and NewJeans' trust relationship broke down because the copy, whatever concept, and NewJeans' trainee era dance practice video was released through Dispatch. Yet ADOR failed to take appropriate action. That was NewJeans' claim. However, it is difficult to see. Yeah, the court already saw that the whole plagiarism issue just doesn't hold. But here, ADOR protest to Source Music regarding the leakage of NewJeans' trainee era video and repeatedly requested Dispatch via email to delete the video. ADOR even entered into a separate service contract with the law firm to completely delete the online leaked video. Considering these points, it can be seen that ADOR took the best possible measures at the time to protect NewJeans in relation to the incident. So whatever Min Hee-jin supporters or NewJeans, quote-unquote NewJeans supporters say, how ADOR is a fake ADOR now with a CEO other than Min Hee-jin, they have done, taken concrete actions to protect NewJeans and their IP. And the court is acknowledging that, right? Because it says what? HYBE selected an additional content moderation agency, requested an explanation from Source Music, and sent an official notice to Dispatch. These actions show that ADOR fulfilled its obligations. And I guess a lot of people still do not know about the fact that NewJeans has already been prepared well by Source Music. Oh well. Let them stay in the dark. All right, point number 5. Defamation of NewJeans' achievements. The claim that HYBE's PR staff downplayed NewJeans' success was also dismissed. The court found that correcting inaccurate sales data was not an act of defamation. Pretty obvious. A journalist had reported NewJeans' Japanese debut album sold 1 million copies, when in fact the sales was less than, how much was it? Less than 100,000. It was about 50,000, I think. Now, which was false. 1 million copy sales in Japan was false. HYBE requested a correction explaining that leaving it unaddressed could confuse investors. And that could also affect the stock price, right? HYBE 및 주가의 전제가 되는 사실관계. Right, correcting that is not an act of defamation, the court acknowledged. Point number 6, ILIT's alleged plagiarism. The plagiarism claim regarding ILIT was rejected as well. While there are some similarities, it cannot be deemed a case of copying, the court ruled. Girl group concepts cannot be considered protected publicity or intellectual property rights, it said. ADOR's lack of response to the matter does not amount to a major contractual breach. Point number 7. Quote-unquote ignored incident with Honey. And here's the Kakao Talk conversation that I have recently talked about on to celebrate the anniversary of Honey's national audit event last year. The court found that the word ignored originated from Min Hee-jin, not Honey. Min Hee-jin asked Honey, did Olive Eyelid ignore you? Emphasizing the term herself. The judge said, wow, so the judge have carefully looked into and read over the Kakao Talk messages. Good for them. The court also noted discrepancies in Honey's account. CCTV footage shows Eyelid members bowing to Honey. The 90-degree bow, right? Based on the submitted evidence, it is hard to conclude that her personal rights were violated. All right, point number 8. Dolphin kidnappers. ADOR's request for the video team, Dolphin Kidnappers, to remove the ETA director's cut video was also deemed justified. The production contract stated that content could not be posted without HYBE's prior consent, the court said. ADOR's request for deletion was a legitimate exercise of contractual rights. Yeah, this is such a mysterious case, how the Dolphiners and their director were angry about the whole thing, even though the contract says right there that you cannot do that. 2024 was a mysterious era. Number 9. Album dropping or album pushing. The court dismissed claims that HYBE engaged in album dumping to disadvantage NewJeans. There is no evidence that such actions took place, it stated, describing the issue as a tool used by Min Hee-jin politically to attack HYBE. Let's read that one more time. Based on the evidence submitted, there's no evidence that such actions took place. Describing the issue as a tool or a measure used by Min Hee-jin to politically attack HYBE or to attack HYBE media warfare-wise. 공격하기 위한 수단. Point number 8. Abandoning new and starting anew. So new 버리고 새판. That's the part of the phrase that came out of the report, right? NewJeans pointed to an internal report with the phrase abandon new and start afresh as proof of bias. The court disagreed. When viewed in full, the report contained no negative content about NewJeans, it said, adding, even as ADOR CEO at the time, Min Hee-jin did not raise any objections to the report. The court further noted HYBE's 21 billion Korean won investment in NewJeans, saying it is hard to believe the company would simply abandon them. I mean, if you have been following this issue closely, there's nothing new about this court's decision. But guess what? Min Hee-jin supporters, I don't know about NewJeans fans anymore, but Min Hee-jin supporters would not even listen to what the judge is saying right here, even though they're laying out point by point how their arguments don't hold. Anyways, in conclusion, the court ruled ADOR did not seriously breach its contractual obligations, and the defendant's claim of destroyed trust is unfounded. The exclusive contract remains valid. As a result, NewJeans remains under contract with ADOR, which now has firm legal grounds to prevent the group from conducting independent activities. Until a final appeal ruling, the group must follow the same conditions set by the previous injunction. They cannot act independently without ADOR's prior approval. Immediately after the verdict, NewJeans announced their intent to appeal. Their law firm, Sejong, stated, while we respect the court's decision, the trust relationship with ADOR has already collapsed. We will file an appeal immediately. Yeah, let me read their full statement pretty soon. But what do you think? I mean, again, this whole verdict was completely predictable for anyone who's been following the case closely and reading beyond the headlines. Because from the start, Min Hee-jin's legal and PR strategy was built more on narrative control than on solid contractual grounds. And the court's decision reflects exactly that. It wasn't about personalities or creative direction. It was all about the written terms and the obligations and the contract. And ADOR clearly hadn't violated any of them. I wonder if any of these guys are laughing now. I don't know. Maybe they expected the court decision like this. I don't know. I'm quite curious. Did they expect the decision like this? Or are they genuinely confounded and surprised today? I don't know. Now, the judges quite methodically dismantled every single claim that NewJeans camp made. From management vacuum to trust collapse, showing that most arguments were either exaggerated or self-inflicted. And even the court highlighted Min Hee-jin's premeditated intent to break away from HYBE, using members' parents and the media to build pressure, something that seriously undermined her credibility. And if there's anything slightly surprising about today's decision, it was the fact that the court said it out loud. And for all the talk about artistic independence, this case exposed how weak Min Hee-jin and NewJeans' actual legal standing was once. Emotion and fandom, quote-unquote fandom, were stripped away, And NewJeans' side essentially gambled on public sympathy to sway perception. But the courtroom isn't Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Evidence wins, not, some random post or hashtags. So at the end, ADOR holds full control again, right? And unless the appeal somehow uncovers new hard evidence, this ruling will stand. And I doubt there's anything new, although there might be another series of petitions that some random people will be sending. But yeah, the real question going forward is whether Min Hee-jin and her supporters can accept that this wasn't corporate oppression, but the legal consequence of her own choices. I doubt Min Hee-jin will accept that, and I doubt that Min Hee-jin supporters will accept that. And there are many of them coming over all the way to my channel in my videos to comment, right? I leave them on. I never delete comments because it's pretty cute to see them do that. Some of them have even photos of Min Hee-jin as their profile pictures. But I wonder about what NewJeans members and their parents are thinking right now. All right, so that was the article by Dispatch. Now, I wonder if there are any details included in another article, and I just wanted to read this one too. And I might skip over some details if there are some redundancies, and then I will look at some of the netizen comments, and then NewJeans statements, and then we'll wrap, okay? NewJeans loses the lawsuit completely. Order to pay legal cost. Court says Min Hee-jin's media campaign was not for Min Hee-jin's protection. NewJeans has launched the first trial in their exclusive contract dispute against ADOR. On October 30th at 9:50 a.m., the Seoul Central District Court Civil Division 41 ruled that the exclusive contract between ADOR and NewJeans remains valid in the case filed by ADOR against the 5 members of NewJeans. Seeking confirmation of the contract's validity, the court stated, "It is difficult to recognize any grounds for termination of the exclusive contract," explaining, "The dismissal of Min Hee-jin as CEO does not necessarily mean there was a management vacuum or that the plaintiff was incapable of fulfilling its obligations," meaning ADOR. The contract does not specify that Min Hee-jin must personally handle management duties. Even after being dismissed as CEO, she could still participate as an internal director, so the CEO title was not essential. ADOR even sent her a draft agreement delegating producer responsibilities for NewJeans, and later made the same offer again. Since Min Hee-jin resigned of her own accord, the defendant's claims cannot be accepted. Looking back, really, HYBE and ADOR did their jobs. Because at the time, some people were saying that, oh my God, HYBE, what are you doing? Why do you offer Min Hee-jin all these positions? Why do you want her to stay within your company, whether as a producer or internal director? But look, it helped them, win in the end in court. The court acknowledged their efforts. You know what I'm saying? Regarding the legitimacy of Min Hee-jin's dismissal, the court ruled, based on Kakao messages, Min Hee-jin appeared to have prepared in advance for a media campaign and legal action with the intent of separating NewJeans from HYBE. Remember, this is something that the judge said aloud this morning. She refrained from appearing publicly. Oh, this is cool. Min Hee-jin refrained from appearing publicly. Instead, pushing the NewJeans members forward to create the impression that HYBE was treating them unfairly. While she herself sought potential investors. Contrary to the defendant's claims, these actions do not appear to have been intended to protect the members. Wow, did they really say this? Yeah, good thing that I'm reading this article. Dispatch did pretty good job organizing the court's decision in very readable bites, but I feel like this one really shows what the court said. Let me read that one more time. Where is it? Yeah, right here. Based on Kakao messages, Min Hee-jin appeared to have prepared in advance for a media campaign and legal action with the intent of separating NewJeans from HYBE. She refrained from appearing publicly, instead pushing the NewJeans members forward to create the impression that HYBE was treating them unfairly, while she herself sought potential investors. Contrary to the defendant's claims, these actions do not appear to have been intended to protect the members. If there's only one or two phrases that I could highlight when it comes to the court decision, I think this would be it. And the fact that they said this out aloud is, pretty cool. All right, next one. On the alleged breakdown of trust, the court said, when a media outlet published trainee photos of the members, ADOR took appropriate action. Photos or footage. 2 posts were deleted and others were blurred. The company also contacted the outlet directly, and took moderation measures regarding the post. It's difficult to say ADOR failed to take necessary steps. The court continued. While there are some similarities between certain elements of NewJeans and outlet's concepts, there's insufficient evidence to conclude that outlet copied NewJeans. Likewise, the statements made by HYBE's PR staff cannot be seen as attempts to disparage NewJeans. Yeah, similarities like that could be seen everywhere, and a lot of times, K-pop fans put two images or two footage side by side and say that, look, there's plagiarism, everybody. It happens all the time. Although I gotta say, in general, I don't really like plagiarism accusations, but the parallels between NewJeans and the Mexican group Jeans, that's really something, you know what I'm saying? I cannot help but wonder what really happened there. Anyway, so let's keep going. Addressing claims that HYBE directed outlet members to ignore Honey, the court cited CCTV footage. It shows 3 outlet members bowing to Honey up on entering the HYBE building. Based on the submitted evidence, it is difficult to recognize this as an act of ignoring her. It's just funny that the judge is talking about this. HYBE security team confirmed that footage of Honey meeting these outlet members was indeed recorded. And now I cannot help but wonder, what if they didn't bow? Then would the judge have said that, oh, yes, they ignored her and they, didn't respect her as a person or something? I don't know. The whole thing is weird. The court also emphasized HYBE invested 21.5 billion Korean won in NewJeans. From debut, the group achieved major success. It is therefore unreasonable to assume HYBE abandoned NewJeans to focus on another girl group. NewJeans received substantial support in building their fandom and exercising creative decision-making. When those decisions were not accepted, they claimed a violation of personal rights. While forcing an artist into unwanted exclusive activities could theoretically infringe on personal rights, maintaining this contract does not amount to coercion or infringement in this case. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, NewJeans received substantial support in building their fandom and exercising creative decision-making. And by the way, ADOR publicly celebrated the 3rd anniversary of Bunnies, their fandom, either yesterday or 2 days ago. So they're still doing their jobs. While forcing an artist into unwanted exclusive activities could theoretically infringe on personal rights, maintaining this contract itself does not amount to coercion or infringement in this case. Now, on the alleged breakdown of trust, the court said the claims that HYBE hindered promotions before debut, that Bang Seo refused to greet the members, they even mentioned that, or that luxury brand ambassador offers were blocked, lack sufficient causal connection. 인과관계가 부족하다. Yeah, lacks sufficient causal connection. Yeah, I guess Sejong law firms did indeed include arguments that Bang Seo allegedly refusing to greet the members in an elevator or something as part of their arguments. Wow. Regarding Min Hee-jin's claims of retaliatory audit by HYBE, the court said, as established earlier, it appears Min Hee-jin initiated her media campaign first around April 10th, 2024. April 10th, 2024. And at the time, a lot of things happened around HYBE artists. And now I cannot help but wonder to what extent Min Hee-jin did her part as part of planning media campaigns and the so-called 역viral, reverse viral marketing to attack HYBE and its artists. I don't know. Maybe it will be uncovered eventually. I mean, there are a lot of YouTube channels that a lot of people are suspicious of, given when they were first formed and started their activities and uploading all kinds of damaging short videos with HYBE artists as targets. don't know. We'll see. The ruling further stated, when legal disputes arise, the relationship of trust naturally deteriorates, but that alone cannot justify termination of the contract. Therefore, the exclusive contract signed on April 21st, 2022 remains valid. The defendants, NewJeans, must bear all legal costs. In other words, grow up and learn. Immediately after the verdict, NewJeans announced plans to appeal. The legal team stated, while the members respect the court's judgment, it is impossible to resume normal activities under ADOR given that the relationship of trust has been completely broken. The members will immediately appeal the first trial decision and hope that the appellate court will carefully review the facts and legal principles regarding contract termination to reach a wise ruling. Oh my goodness, you Sejong lawyers, you evil people. How wealthier do you need to get? Okay, and then from here on, it's just a summary of what has happened so far. Do you want me to read it? Not really. Although we can read it to briefly refresh ourselves. The lawsuit traces back to November of last year when NewJeans held an emergency press conference declaring the termination of their exclusive contract with ADOR. In response, ADOR filed a suit in December 2024 with the Seoul Central District Court to confirm the contract's validity. ADOR also filed for an injunction to preserve its status as the group's agency and to prevent the members from signing new endorsement deals. The court granted ADOR's request, effectively halting NewJeans' independent activities. In addition, the court approved ADOR's petition for an indirect compulsory order, stating, until the final ruling is delivered in the contract validity case, NewJeans must not engage in independent or third-party entertainment activities without ADOR's prior approval or consent. Each violation will result in a 1 billion won penalty to ADOR per instance per person. During earlier hearings, ADOR emphasized HYBE's 21 billion won investment and approximately 5 billion won settlement per member, arguing this kind of unilateral termination clearly violates the contract. Essentially, the members want to transfer all risk of failure to the company while monopolizing the rewards of success that undermines the foundation of the K-pop industry. In contrast, NewJeans argued that the dispute began with HYBE's audit of former ADOR CEO Min Hee-jin, claiming ADOR failed to protect them and thereby destroyed mutual distrust, all of which is dismissed in this court. That's me saying. That's me explaining. They suggested reconciliation was only possible if ADOR is restored to its state before Min Hee-jin's audit began last April, effectively implying that Min Hee-jin must return to her former position. Since NewJeans unilaterally declared contract termination in November 2024, ADOR has repeatedly extended an open invitation for the group to return and resume activities together, but firmly rejected any possibility of reinstating Min Hee-jin. The court held 2 mediation sessions to seek a compromise, but both failed, leading to the case conclusion without settlement. And remember when I, covered the mediation sessions, we noted something unusual about the way the judge sounded concerned, genuinely concerned about the members, because from their perspective, the case is clear cut. They have no chance. NewJeans has no chance of winning this thing, so they're like, you gotta compromise. You gotta do mediation, which is why they probably demanded the members, at least 1 or 2 members, to be present during the mediation sessions themselves. And I wonder what the court said, what the judges said during the mediation session, because the whole session stayed secret, right? Nothing was able to be released through the media, so we have no idea what was going on, who said what. But in the end, NewJeans or Min Hee-jin or Sejong law firms had to really force the judge to make this dismissal case. All right, so there we go. Now, this was the full statement by Sejong law firms Hello, this is Sejong Law LLC, the legal representative. Yep, we already read all of that, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. Accordingly, the members plan to immediately... While the members respect the court's judgment, they believe that given the complete breakdown of trust with ADOR, it is impossible to return and continue normal entertainment activities under the company. Accordingly, the members plan to immediately appeal the ruling, and they hope that the appellate court will thoroughly review the facts and the legal principles surrounding the contract termination to deliver a wise and fair decision. Lastly, the members sincerely thank the fans who have waited patiently and continue to support them throughout this long process. Thank you, Sejong Law LLC. How dare they mention fans? Because the genuine fans either left the fandom or they're frustrated with NewJeans' decision. Because the genuine fans really want them to go back. Those who at least read over the court's previous decisions. And so the quote-unquote fans that they're referring to here, I don't know what kind of people they are. All right, so, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this statement? It honestly reads like a parody of self-delusion. It's the same tired script they've been repeating for months. We respect the court, but cannot go back because trust is broken. Well, the irony is, the court just spends 40 minutes explaining in excruciating detail why that broken trust narrative has no legal or factual basis. And ADOR didn't breach the contract. Min Hee-jin did. Yet somehow, NewJeans and their parents are still letting her drag them further down this hole, this women. And Min Hee-jin, at least, I guess, is acting in her own twisted self-interest. She's fighting for control or image, and ego is cynical but somewhat logical. Sejong law firms, on the other hand, is turning into an accomplice to the circus. It seems more and more like that. I mean, sure, they're making legal fees, but at what cost? Like, their reputation as one of Korea's top-tier law firms is taking a real hit. At least that's what's happening to me. Because no serious corporate clients wants to be associated with the firm representing a manipulative ex-CEO and a bunch of confused idols weaponized by her PR games. At least from my perspective. A funny story. Recently, I've learned that one of my friends' girlfriend, she works at Sejong Law Firm. And when I heard that immediately, I was like, okay. Of course, that kind of reaction doesn't make sense because Sejong is a huge law firm and they take all kinds of cases. But I don't know, at least for me, their reputation has been already damaged because of this issue. Now, the biggest mystery, however, here is NewJeans themselves, or rather their parents. Because the group has everything to lose and nothing to gain from this. The court has now officially confirmed they are bound by ADOR. And every day they resist, they're bleeding, career time and momentum and goodwill if they have any of that left. So the NJZ rebranding attempt, that was already an embarrassment. And now this statement just makes them look clueless, like little pawns in someone else's game. So yeah, Min Hee-jin is playing chess, and she recently set up her own company, and she's now again trying to be a CEO of another entity. And Sejong is counting billable hours, but NewJeans, they are burning their own house down while insisting someone else lit the match, so to say. And let me say it one more time. I don't really want these girls to come back to HYBE, considering the kinds of damage that they have done, along with their fandom, to other HYBE artists. And I think their return could potentially cause a huge headache. But just logically speaking, what they're doing just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? I guess the only option that they have left is make a statement or do an emergency conference and talk about how they have learned, what they have learned about this person, NewJeans, if they have learned anything, and talk about what really was going on, something that the public doesn't already know about, and how they realized that they have been manipulated by Min Hee-jin. And hopefully, ideally, they do this press conference or statement in an apologetical manner, apologizing to the people that they have hurt along the way. Of course, from their perspective and from Min Hee-jin supporters' perspective, what I just said doesn't make sense. And they're gonna, I don't know, diss me. But I don't know. I feel like that's the only option they have left. All right, let's quickly go over the comments written by the netizens, Korean netizens. For example, this one. Driven by greed, they use the girls as a front, even pulling in the parents to help with the gaslighting. And in the end, Min Hee-jin set up her own operation after ruining their lives. She should take responsibility for destroying those kids' futures. There are just too many people who do wrong, never reflect, and never feel shame. So she planned to use NewJeans' parents to push the narrative that HYBE mistreated the group. In other words, that's just pure evil. Isn't this just some common sense? Regardless of what people think of the ruling, what's the point of contract if you can just break it because you're upset or don't like the situation? This judgment merely confirms basic logic, but the consequences will be severe. They will have to pay for all the damages caused by violating their contract. And 사필 규정, justice has been served. And then this one says, such an obvious result. Seriously. Stop blindly supporting NewJeans out of fandom feelings. Try reading the contract and applying some basic common sense. So what's striking here is the tone, right? These aren't HYBE loyalists talking. They're just regular commenters. And they're overwhelmingly furious at Min Hee-jin. And increasingly at the NewJeans parents. And the public sentiment has shifted hard already. The shift already happened months ago. And the words gaslighting, greed, and evil appear naturally. Not as exaggeration, but as a reflection of how manipulative this whole campaign now looks in the public eye. And like the first comment captures the emotional essence of the backlash, right? The idea that Min Hee-jin weaponized innocence, well, quote unquote innocence, like using teenage idols and their parents as emotional shields in a corporate power grab. And that's not just unethical. To many Koreans, it crosses into moral rot. And yeah, the second comment, this one, boils it down perfectly. Pure evil. 한마디로 사악하다는 거. It reflects the disgust that people feel toward Min Hee-jin, who use family bonds as strategic tools. And other commenters represent the rational public, those who see the case for what it is. A contractual dispute that never should have become an emotional spectacle or something. And reminding everyone that the court simply reaffirmed common sense, that you cannot tear up a valid contract just because you feel, quote unquote, betrayed. And in the end, I think these reactions show that NewJeans' emotional appeals and PR framing no longer resonate. And the sympathy that once upon a time, has already evaporated. And ordinary people are now siding with legal clarity and basic logic. And they're holding these people, the parents especially, accountable for letting their daughters be used in someone else's personal war. And they're, many people are holding NewJeans members accountable as well. Yeah, and if there's one thing that this verdict has exposed, is that the public can maybe forgive mistakes, but not manipulation, especially when it hides behind, the word freedom. All right. So what do you think? We'll see. We'll see how this ends. And do you think NewJeans themselves truly understand the legal and professional consequences of continuing to fight this? And at what point should parents step back and stop letting their children be used as leverage in a corporate dispute? And has Sejong law firm miscalculated by attaching its name, to a case that looks more weird and emotional than legal? And for those quote-unquote fans who are watching, how do you continue supporting a group when their every move seems driven by manipulation rather than music or art? And finally, can NewJeans ever recover public trust if they keep standing behind someone the court and much of the nation now sees as the architect of their own downfall? If they have any options left, what would they look like? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. And if there are any new details about this case, about this court decision, I'll make a video accordingly. But let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Thank you guys. Peace and love. Bye-bye.